Today we're going to be talking about oil pumps, some of the benefits to an upgraded oil pump, some of the pros, some of the cons, some of the ones that I like and some of the ones that I don't like. So this might get controversial for some, so let's dive straight into it. Righto guys, it's no secret the early model 2017 to 2019 model M8 Harleys had some sumping issues, predominantly in the touring models. Now I have not seen a soft tail sump due to an oil pump failure. I've heard of them sumping because the O-ring's been pinched on an installation and therefore it can't, the O-ring is not sealing, therefore the oil pump cannot pull the oil out of the crankcase. But the early model, I don't want to get too off track here, but the early model M8s had some sumping issues. There was some oil pump problems there. Harley tried to revise that along the way up until 2019. Very late model 2019 bikes had the latest oil pump from Harley, the 8-lobe G-rotor, and that thing has cured the sumping problem. From 2020 and up, you have nothing to worry about. That oil pump in your bike is absolutely fine to run. You won't have a problem. Now, of course, there are some options through aftermarkets. Fueling, S&S, and of course Screaming Eagle offer an option as well. Now guys, it's probably no secret to some of you, but the Screaming Eagle one is my favorite. Now that is for a few reasons. I'm going to get into that very shortly. My second favorite is the fueling. The one I don't like to use is the S&S one. Now, I don't have one here at the moment during this video, but I did have one in the shop a few months back, which I actually got some footage of to show some of the differences in what I'm talking about. So a couple of differences straight off the bat. This brass bushing, I hope you can see this, the brass bushing for the pinion shaft here has a spline which holds this guy in place. It will not allow it to turn. Now the fueling one here, it is much the same as a stock Harley-Davidson cam plate and runs what's called a plain bearing. So what's going on there is the oil is fed through to there and a film of oil runs between the cam plate and the pinion shaft, therefore providing lubrication. The S&S one, it has a brass bushing just like the Screaming Eagle one here, but it is only pressed into place. It is not splined. Now, why I don't like that is because if that brass bush, well, for a start, there are a few reasons, a few things to cover here. The S&S cam plate offers 3 to 5 thousandths of crankshaft or pinion shaft run out, which is, most of these things come out of the box with that amount of run out on them anyway. Fueling is the same, about 5 thousandths of pinion shaft run out. This guy here, it'll support up to 12 thousandths of run out because that's what the Harley-Davidson specification is. This is a much stronger setup because it is splined into place and it cannot turn. Now on the S&S one, if that brass bushing turns because of the run out gets too high and that brass bushing turns and then subsequently blocks off some of the oil passages, as the oil, this is basically a valve body for the oil delivery system. As the oil's pumped through the oil pump here, okay, goes to the filter, comes back, and then it gets distributed through this cam plate. It comes through here, lubricates the pinion shaft. It does the hydraulic cam chain tension. It comes up here to the camshaft, through out the back into the lifter valley. It does the lifters, goes up to the push rods, etc. So if this guy here turns and gets blocked off, you will subsequently lose oil feed to your crankshaft and your big end bearings on your conrod. So this guy has a good security system on there. It is splined into place, it cannot move. The S&S one does not. It's pressed in there. Now obviously it's an interference fit, so it is quite firm, but that's a risk I don't want to take and I don't believe someone should take. The fueling one, on the other hand, as I said earlier, runs a plain bearing. So there is oil getting fed around there, just like there is on the OEM cam plate from Harley, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with the plain bearing. Does the same up here on the camshaft bearing, where the camshaft sits in there. It's a plain bearing as well. They have a little bit larger groove here to allow a little bit more volume of oil to flow through, which is an added benefit. Both of these units are absolutely perfect to run. Like, there's nothing wrong with them at all. These are all priced pretty much the same. They're all very competitively priced within, I think, $100 of each other as far as price points concerned. The pump on the Screaming Eagle one, it actually offers a 9% increase in oil flow at idle over the latest 2020 and up model oil pump from Harley. and the scavenging properties is increased as well, 33% over the 8-lobe oil pump from Harley. So this guy is, I mean, they call it the Screaming Eagle Super Sucker oil pump. So it does have plenty of scavenging capabilities. Now guys, the fueling one here, much the same. It is a great oil pump. There's nothing wrong with it. Assembly, guys, the biggest thing with these oil pumps is where the oil pump gets pushed and seated into the crankcase, an O-ring sits around here and it goes into the crankcase. If that O-ring is pinched or damaged, it cannot. So this is where the oil gets sucked out of the crankcase from. Now, if that O-ring is damaged, it's going to lose its capabilities to pull the oil out of there, and therefore you will essentially sump your engine. If you don't know what sumping is, it's when the oil cannot be removed out of the crankcase because you have oil going in there because it's lubricating up under the piston oilers there to cool the pistons, and of course there's oil coming in through the pinion shaft into the big end bearing of the conrods, falling down into the crankcase, and it gets pulled out. Now when it can't get pulled out, it just starts to fill up and you'll lose power because it's essentially wet sumping the engine. The crankshaft's running through a bath of oil, and then your oil level starts to drop in your oil tank. You might be one of those guys who checks your oil regularly. You might notice it's getting low on oil. You'll fill it up with oil, and it's just filling the engine up with oil. Righto guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. I know this topic is a little bit old. I just wanted to get my little video out there just to throw my 2 cents in, because a lot of my viewers have asked about this sort of thing. So what better way to chuck this video together real quick for you guys. Hope you found it informative. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down the bottom. I'll get back to them as soon as I can and hopefully clear anything up for you. But thanks for watching. See you next time.